awfully exciting time when you get into the last week and first exhibition game at home, with a lot of concerns still, but Albion, you all know why we played them, of course, with Zachary and Kai on their team. The Winston family will be well represented. We try to do this over the years with either Division II or NAIA schools. We've done some when Draymond's brother played in Nebraska. And I guess we did some with Northern Michigan for me. So it was brought to my attention, not by the Winstons, but it was a very good thought. And Albion, we have a lot of friends and people that went there, and I think this will be good. Gives the three brothers a chance to play, and they played some pickup here this summer. But in Albion, they did have a team that was like 19 and 10 or 11, 9, I think they were. They went to the NCAA tournament. They won the championship there. They got two really good players back. A kid named Davis, a little guard, averaged almost 14 a game, quick, lightning quick. And a forward named Ebling, a lot better than our Ebling, averaged 13.5 points a game and 8.1 rebounds, and probably has one of the better jump hook post moves that I've seen in our on people we've played. So not great size. It'll be challenging for us in that. We're going to try to play a lot of people because we've got some question marks right now. As far as we go, our problem at the beginning of the year was how do we get everybody in? And we thought we had the iron four of Cassius Winston, Josh Langford, Aaron Henry, Xavier Tillman, and then we had to add a guy. And then all of a sudden, Josh goes down, and then Arnie goes down in the scrimmage and will not play tomorrow night. Question mark when he'll be back. He's had a high ankle sprain. He is recovering, but that's a question mark. On the good side, Rocket Watts who hurt his ankle or his Achilles right before the Gonzaga scrimmage, has been back practicing full go. And at the four right now, we've actually been tossing balls up. The most experienced guy is Thomas Kithier. He's had the most playing time, yet we think Thomas can also be a sub for Xavier. We've looked at Marcus Bingham, we've looked at Malik Hall. We're still juggling those balls and waiting, hopefully, to see, which you don't really like to be doing at this late a date, but one of our positives is one of our negatives. We have some depth. The depth has not separated itself as much as I hoped it would by now, which could be good news, but it makes it a little more difficult for me. So I'll open it up to some questions on that, and I have one other thing to talk about.
Tom, with Kyle, depending on how bad that high ankle sprain is have you looked at the possibility of doing what they did with Tua at Alabama?
Yeah, it's really a different deal. We did look into it. It's a different deal. It's not quite that high but that's a good question. But yes, we did look into that, and it seemed to, after 2-3 days, be recovering a lot better, and it's not quite as high up where we could go through. I read up on all that, put on my medical hat for about 6/100ths of a second, and took that thing off right away. But he is making some progress. It's just, he's not going to be practicing, and maybe he can start as Tua. The other thing is a little different than a football injury and a basketball injury from the standpoint of the running, cutting. Where a quarterback can sit back there, hand the ball off, or do some other things. It's a little harder. So all the information we got that we looked into, it did not seem the right thing to do.
Kind of along those lines with that, is it the same ankle that he hurt against Michigan in that game, or is that something that you worry about it lingering?
I don't really worry about it lingering because he did it in a strange way. It was running out of bounds. He didn't land on a guy's foot, nothing. but I don't know if it's the same ankle. Do you guys?
I believe so.
You think it is? You think it is? I don't know, an injury is an injury to me, whatever ankle it is, but I'm not,
You take extra caution because of that, I guess.
would I? Probably, but I don't really have a lot of freedom to take too much extra caution because our numbers went from 1 to down a lot just because of that. So we will make sure, we're not going to play him hurt, that's for sure, but we also are going to want him to play.
Tom, talking about the 4, of course, leads us to our regular question on the Joey Hauser saga, and I know you've appealed, and that's in the process.
Yeah.
But are you thinking, have they
Well,
given you any indication of
you
a
know,
timetable?
what I heard the other day is there's 60 people still out there. Now, there seems to be a lot of different numbers floating around, and I don't know who's what, where, why, and when. I don't know how the process works. I told you we were denied once. That's kind of the way it goes, and you appeal it again, and there's up to 3 appeals, I guess. We definitely had it in last week. Where that takes us, unfortunately, I don't know. I'm so confused on, there'll be teams that, as you prepare, you'll be preparing for teams that might have a player that becomes, it's the reason this thing, to me, is a real problem. And I've talked about it before. We don't even touch what football is going through, if you ask me. And how people cannot see this is mind-boggling to me, meaning that there should be one rule, that's the way it is, no exemptions, no nothing. But now once you open it up, I don't want to be playing against people, or I think I got a guy that could just as well be eligible as somebody else that's already eligible. So it's a real problem. I promise you, you'll be the first to know. You can put you all on speed dial, because if I find out, it would be, good news for us, and it would really help some things right now, and that's the problem. At one time I thought it was a no-brainer, and at one time I thought, so that's, if you look at it that way, that's 3 pretty key guys out right now, in a way. And in other ways, maybe you couldn't count him, so it's 2 guys that we got to worry about.
You mentioned after Josh went out, a couple different options you've had at the 2, whether it's Rockford or whether it's Gabe and Aaron. I wanted to just do a week of practice without him, if any of those options.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe is not really a 2 guard, so our options, we've been practicing with Rocket there most of the time now. And I'm very pleased to say that this kid has made incredible strides in the 3 months he's been here. When I look at when he came in, he's been an unbelievable teammate. The one thing he does give us, he's got that tenacity like Keith Appling has. Defensively, he can get after it a little bit. And he didn't shoot very well early, and that's one of his strongest suits, and he's starting to shoot the ball better, just probably because he's feeling more comfortable. So right now, when I do go tomorrow, he will be in this starting lineup. The other one, I'm sort of still not sure, but I'm leaning towards Kithier.
You mentioned just a bit ago that the depth has not separated itself as much as you thought. Why do you think that is, and how much does that concern you right now? Because you kind of mentioned that a little bit too.
Well, we have certain guys, like Josh is head and shoulders above somebody else, and Joey could be head and shoulders. So some of it is those young kids, got to perform. We knew Marcus Bingham. I think Marcus has come a long way, with his new 25 pounds. It's just that when you see him, he doesn't look 25 pounds bigger, and some of that's going to take time. And so when I say separated, you got to remember now, or maybe you don't know, but we had Julius Marble out for 2 to 3 weeks. Earlier, we had Malik Hall's been here the whole time. Kithier was out a week with an ankle, but he's been here the whole time. So part of it is they just haven't had a chance, and we haven't played in any games. to really see what they're like in games. Some guys are better practice players, some guys are gamers, you know. I know this, we're gonna find out under fire, so that's gonna be interesting to see. So it's not disappointing, it's just makes it more difficult on me to have to pick one. And so I gotta go with what I think is best, my staff thinks is best. But, you know, what I don't wanna do is, you know, I watch what happens in other sports. I don't wanna anoint somebody here that's maybe this much better than somebody else, and 2 weeks from now, it could be the opposite. So I'm just trying to be as honest with you as I can, as I've done with those guys. Brought in all four, what I consider Julius, Malik, Thomas Kithier, and Marcus Bingham. And I told them all last night, you know, that, you know, right now, if somebody wants the job, you got to step it up a few, and if it's going to take some time, we're going by committee for a while.
You were at one time the president of the coaches board, and I'm just curious, I'm sure you don't feel this way, but fan perception is the NCAA favors certain teams in different sports. You mentioned one rule. How important would it be for the integrity of the game and transparency to just have it be a open and shut where there isn't any bringing into transferring, well, this person has this circumstance, this has this, just open transparency?
You mean open meaning everybody?
No, just one rule. Either it's you don't get to transfer no matter what, you do, just so there isn't perception certain schools
I've been
get.
pretty vocal about, you know, I just do not see how many people are benefiting. I've listened to everybody. I've got good friends that disagree, but most of the coaches, what we say in public and what we believe are sometimes two different things, because you're worried about hurting somebody's feelings or hurting your recruiting. I'm so far beyond that. I'm worried about what betters the game and what betters the student athlete. And this concept that everybody should be able to change jobs like that, to me, is a joke. Okay, to me is a joke. But, and if we're talking academics, I don't care if you transfer from Northern Michigan to Hill, from Michigan to Michigan State, Harvard to Yale, you're probably going to lose some credit hours. And so I think we've done a disservice, as always, and look, what looks nice out in front, the unintended consequences become more critical. And we're sitting here, and there's a lot of schools out there, worse than us, that have no idea who they're going to play against. And I'm just, you know, I look at the bylaws and the rules and the exceptions and the this and the that, and I don't agree with it all. So whether Joey Hauser gets eligible or not doesn't change, you know, so you'll say, what a hypocritical guy you are. You know, if your guy makes it, you're happy with. No, I'm not. I'm not. But what I'm not happy with is if my guy doesn't get it and other people are getting it, that I'm not happy about. Okay? But I can't tell you how much I still believe that when we had, I think in football last week, I think in 1 week there were like 58 or 60 people in the portal. If I hear that word portal, if I use that anymore, somebody shoot me, okay? I hate that word portal. I think it's ridiculous. But that's where we're at right now, and I just hope enough of us can make people realize, I don't know if it's healthy for anybody. And don't mince like y'all do half my words. Okay, don't pick apart so that the narrative fits your story or somebody else's story. Because I'm just saying, more than anything, I think it hurts the student athlete. It makes you not work for things. It makes you not appreciate things. It puts you in a position, as I've heard in other sports, and I don't know this, where we got guys putting their name in the portal, then wanting to come back. Said I wasn't going to say that word. We got guys putting their name in a garbage basket and then wanting to come back. We got guys putting their names in, or gals putting their names in and not having any place to go. We've had many people in the women's sports that I've been told don't even get a scholarship. They lose their scholarship because they think it's just easy to put your name in. It's really sad what this has come to, and I don't know if anybody realizes it, but most of you are in the mid-millennials. You know, you're not the 22, 23, 24, few you are, but if you're in that mid-range, it shocked you how much it costs to go to school now. And that scholarship is worth something. The education you get is worth something. And I think we're kind of devaluing that. And I think that's a shame, that we devalue something that is so critically important to 99% of all athletes. And that scares me. So, good soapbox topic. Next.
Tom, you obviously are going to beat down two of your more experienced wings for the foreseeable future. How does Aaron Henry kind of step up in that situation? Not necessarily as the two guard, but as one of the more experienced wings.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had, like I said, the Iron Four. We had four guys that we had not only confidence in, but they had experience. And they all played in big games. I mean, significant. And that was Cash and Josh and Aaron and Xavier. And you take one out of there, we still have three very experienced guys that have done a lot. But Arnie brings that partial experience to the table. And I mean, hell, we could start two freshmen in those two spots. And so everybody's got to step up. Coaches got to step up. Players got to step up. The rookies got to step up. Everybody's got to step up. But it's also what an opportunity for people. You know, you're going to play on some of the biggest stages, and you got the opportunity of a lifetime. And other people are playing freshmen, and other people have injuries. You know, it's not just us. I don't feel sorry for Josh's injury for our team as much as I do for Josh. He's just one of those guys that, you know, I mean, I'd give my right arm to have him play. For him, for what he's done, for what he believes in, for how he acts, for how he works. I mean, he's an incredible kid. So, hard to feel sorry for myself and my team when I got to watch a guy come to practice every day more upbeat than I am, doesn't get to play. That's really hard. So everybody's going to have to step up a notch. Aaron Henry's going to have to step up a notch. Cash Winston's going to have to step up a notch. Xavier Tillman's going to have to step up a notch. And we're going to have to become very, very close-knit, because there'll be some bumps and bruises. You know, there'll be some new people having to go through some things that they never dreamed of going through. They all talk like they wanted to go through it. And now they're going to have to walk what they're going through, and it's harder to walk it than it is to talk it.
Tom, with this game versus other, are you trying to get anything different out of this exhibition versus the scrimmage? Obviously, the situation's a little bit different, being at home, different competition.
Yeah,
but
the situation different. What I want to do is play better than we played in the last one, and you can say, well, that's gonna, you know, could happen with the competition. I don't think so. You know, are we running harder? Are we filling our lanes? Are we going to the offensive glass? Doesn't matter if you're going against a fifth grade team or a star team. Those are effort-related things that I thought had to improve. So I'm anxious to see that. Are we going to be mature enough to start playing the game? Not the team. You know, we play the game means we got to get better each and every day. There were some reasons. You know, I think guys coming off the Josh thing. I think, you know, Arnie getting hurt. Plus, I thought. You know, we played a lot of guys. Those were all reasons, but I also thought Gonzaga was a very, very good team, which I said early. I think we're one of 10 teams. I still think we're one of 10 teams, but I think there's a lot of other teams out there that are awfully good. And first 20 days, you're gonna see a lot of them, in fact, maybe 2, 3, and 4.
I kind of want to go back to that ugly word, portal again. You've dealt with guys transferring in season. I think back to like Kearney and Cotton. Do you expect that, because obviously Mark's dealing with that in football, do you expect that to be a situation in basketball more now? Because it seems like that's been a rare thing compared to...
Yeah, well, they've opened up Pandora's box. There's a lot of things that change that you're gonna panic over. Like, we're panicking over a couple guys leaving in football. And that was another thing that I was disappointed of, none in here, but I heard one guy talking about it, and they said, well, yeah, he's losing starters. I mean, some guys weren't even on scholarship, so let's make sure we get the facts straight. Oh, that's right, the facts don't matter, but sometimes they do. Football's thing is, to me, outrageous, because they have the 4, you can play 4 times, so that makes it a lot different than basketball. But what we see in basketball, what will they do with that rule? You're supposed to be able to play in so many games in the first half of the season. Are we going to see guys go 6 games? Now, you're supposed to have an injury in basketball, but who knows? I don't know where it's going. That's my reason. If you always have an excuse for everything instead of being held accountable to what you got to do, that's my reason. I think we're helping people in the short end. We're winning the battle, but we're losing the war. And the war is a lifetime. And that's why I struggle with this stuff, And I think there's a lot of coaches feel the same way. I just think people are afraid to say anything anymore. I'm not afraid to say anything. I want my guys having a great experience here, but a greater life later on. And I think what we're teaching is not. So what's going to happen in basketball? This is one time I have nothing over you guys. We're all in this together. This is new territory. I don't like what I think I'm going to see. In that garbage can, there's been a lot of different things that have happened in all sports. There is an enormous amount of more people in it since we called it that word. I don't see where that's healthy for anybody, but maybe I'm wrong too. I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm wrong.
All right, I'm going to get off of the garbage can. Right, I'm going to talk about Rocket. You mentioned he's probably going to start tomorrow night. How prepared?
My fault, because I'm usually pretty honest with you. He will start tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I worded it wrong. Sorry. As a true freshman and a guy, how prepared is he for that sort of role right out of the gate, and not just tomorrow night, but looking potentially next week in that sort of stage?
I asked Rocket something the other day. It was really kind of fun. We all know, remember, he was going to sign, and then he didn't. But what we did is we all assumed that he was question marking. But he posts things that my assistants would bring to me, because I don't look at that stuff. I was a Spartan, still a Spartan, this and that, and this and that. Like, it was no big deal. It was just the cool thing not to sign early, because a lot of the other guys were doing it. So I said to him the other day, I said, well, now you've been here for 3 months, and, I told you what I didn't like about you, when you hung your head when I said something to you, or when you weren't quite the teammate that I thought you needed to be. And I've watched you, honest to God, the kid has come farther than any kid I've coached in a lot of years. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, but I said, are you happy you're here? Did you have any real, besides people, wherever you are, people are going to rip the coach and do this and do that. And he goes, oh yeah, man, I'm happy I'm here. He's helped himself academically. He's become a great teammate. I was laughing yesterday. I said, here's Kyle Arns and him kind of Kyle's from the farmlands. I mean, I think there's 100 people in his town, and Rocket's from Detroit, Michigan. And, Kyle was helping Rocket for a month, and yesterday, the last week, Kyle's been the guy sitting out, and I watched Rocket go over to him, and I'm really proud of where he's come and what he's doing, and I don't know if he's ready for the moment. I really don't care if he's ready for the moment. We're going to get him as ready as we can get him, but we're also going to understand that he's going to make the same freshman mistakes as Miles Bridges made and Jaron Jackson made, and Josh Langford, halfway through his freshman year, we're still getting him to where Aaron Henry, but the kid has been fun to coach. The kid has been, he's confident without being cocky, and I've been really impressed with what he's done.
Ernie's in mid-season form.
Huh?
Ernie's in mid-season form.
Ernie's in mid-season form. Ernie, my wife called as much as your wife called.
My
I'll tell you
wife,
what, man.
Tom,
God bless you.
my wife died this week.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Yeah,
Very sorry.
no, that's not her. But,
I put my foot in my mouth, but I'm
no,
sorry.
no, I know you didn't know.
Yeah.
But, question,
Yes, sir.
what are the two most important things you think you learned about your team against Gonzaga?
Wow. I learned that if we do not play with energy and emotion, the talent does not make up for it. And if we don't play with the same tenacity we did last year, the talent and experience does not make up for it. That was one thing I learned. And the second thing, after watching the film and realizing that we played 11, 12 guys on a regular basis, and they didn't have that many, that, if I would have had Cassius in there longer instead of 26 minutes or whatever it was, if I would have played Xavier more, I think it could have been a little different too. So both things were good, especially the first one, because I don't care who you are or what you are, I think you always kind of think that things are just going to happen because you have the experience for them to happen. Whatever happens, you have to make happen. I didn't think on that day we did.
Tom, Gabe Brown has a bigger role this year. How has he done in preparing for that role? How's he coming along?
Gabe has probably worked as hard as anybody on my team this summer. Gained some weight, worked on his shot morning, noon, and night. Still has got to continually to get better defensively, and he's gotten better on the ball, sometimes off the ball. He's not quite as sharp as I need him to be right now, Maybe he loses his guy a little bit, so we've been working on that. But he's worked, and that's all I can ask him. He works and he cares, and I think he's going to have to be a key guy now. When you look at who we got, when you look at what could happen that first week, depending where Arnie is. I mean, if you took Arnie and Josh out of there, that's 50 minutes minimum. One played 30 last year, one played 20. So it could be 55 minutes out of the 200 minutes that are taken away, besides the guys we lost. So, that's going to be an issue for us early, and Gabe's one of the guys that stepped up a little bit last year in a couple big games in the Big Ten tournament and NCAA tournament, and I think has to do it again.
We have one final one in the front.
We really haven't talked a lot about Thomas, and you did talk about, you plan to start him as well.
Yeah.
What has he done, I guess, in terms of little things, big things, to be that guy right now, and how much does he need to show to keep that job?
Well, we're still hoping that Marcus is the guy that'll step up. He just sometimes yet conditioning, kept keeping up with the added weight, all the things. We're worried about who can play a lot of minutes, but all along through all this, we said at the end of the game, there's a bond between Xavier and Thomas, they kind of know where each other's going. I think for Cassius and our guards, I mean, Thomas knows how to play. That's one thing he's really good at. I'm a little concerned with if I start both guys, going back to the Morris Peterson days when you got to have somebody coming off the bench that does something that you can rely on. It was really funny when Kyle Arns talked to me this week. He kind of said, "Coach, maybe you should start Rocket even if I can come back soon or if I don't come back later." I said, "Why is that?" And he said, he'll get to work more with the first group and you'll get to, what I can bring off the bench, and I'm cool with it." And I mean, that's the kind of guy you want in your foxhole, and he's the one that brought it to me. And so in Thomas Kithier's case, we just still need to get off to a decent start in these big games. And it's the one problem with the schedule, that we aren't going to get anybody in there early that, you can relax against or you can experiment a little bit with. So I think we're going to go that route, but I can honestly say we're not sure. And that's kind of a uncomfortable feeling, yet kind of an exciting feeling, because every day in practice somebody's trying to earn their spot. So I am excited about the fact that our three guys, I mean, when you got a quarterback, when you got a wing guy, and you got a post guy, that's a great way to build a program around. And so it puts a little more on everybody, but it puts a little more on Cassius because he's going to be playing with some new people. And that's where last week I brought up the Brady Patriot thing. It's harder for a quarterback to know where everybody's going, what everybody's doing. And so he's going to be on top of his game like nobody else. But I think he's good enough to handle that too. I really do. So that's the exciting part. I do think we're going to play a lot of people somewhat. Some of those guys under the lights could rise up, and some of those guys could choke up a little bit. I never know how young guys handle things early. What I do like about Rocket is he's been in some big games nationwide. He's been in some big tournaments AAU-wise, but maybe more importantly, he's got a toughness about him that I think you get in the inner city that I think is going to really help him.